A few months ago, I found myself thinking about something strange, that why do people leave comfortable jobs? And I mean, not bad jobs, but comfortable jobs. I'm talking about jobs where you have a decent salary or a predictable work, and you have somewhat of a job security there. And then suddenly one day, someone decides to leave all that behind. To me, it was very irrational. But they join a startup or start a business, or they join another company with somewhat of a rigorous culture. And from the outside, those decisions didn't make sense to me, because why would you choose more stress, more uncertainty, and with a higher chance of failure? Because I assumed that maybe it's all about the money. Maybe they want a higher salary, or maybe a better lifestyle. And sometimes I think that is true, but I don't think money explains everything. Because some people leave jobs like some CXOs or CEOs where they are already earning well, and they choose paths where they might earn a little bit less or even the same. Maybe they are searching for something else too. And I think the reason people leave comfortable jobs is because comfort is not the opposite of suffering, but meaninglessness is. I often imagine that people want the easiest life possible. But if that was true, a comfortable life with no struggles should make everybody happy, right? But it doesn't. And yet, many people become restless in exactly those same jobs. Because the strange thing is that we humans can tolerate incredible amounts of difficulty if we believe that what we are doing actually matters. A doctor can work long hours. A founder building a company from nothing can spend 24 hours a day. A researcher spends years trying to solve a single problem. And a farmer deals with uncertainty every single month. And these lives are difficult. But difficulty itself is not what makes these people happy. The real question is, what kind of difficulty are we experiencing? I have talked about this earlier and in my older videos as well, but there is a difference between suffering for something you believe in and suffering without knowing why. Because a difficult journey feels different when you can see where it is taking you, like a marathon. And I think this is where many people start questioning their decisions. Not because the decision they took is necessarily bad, but because they start asking why. Like, why does this matter? The anthropologist David Graeber wrote a book called Bullshit Jobs, and his argument was that some people secretly feel that their jobs have no meaning or very little meaning. I don't agree with him exactly, and whether you agree with him everything he wrote or not, I think the feeling that he described is real, and some people do feel that. Many people are not tired because they work hard, but they are tired because they cannot see the result of that work. Think about a farmer. A farmer plants seeds and eventually sees crops, right? A carpenter builds a table. A teacher can watch that their students are growing and learning. That connection between effort and outcome is very visible. You can look at something and say, hey, I did that. But I think in many modern jobs, that connection becomes very hard to see, because a typical day would be filled with meetings, presentations, approvals, reports, and status updates. The work might actually be important, but sometimes it becomes difficult to answer a very simple question: what changed because I did that? And I think that uncertainty affects people. As humans, we need evidence that that our actions have effects, or that we matter. We want to feel that if we, let's say, disappeared, something will be different. And I think that is why ownership feels different from just completing these tasks to, let's say, when you build something. Because in those scenarios your decisions matter, your mistakes and efforts matter. And strangely, that responsibility can feel more satisfying, than a comfortable position. Because this is also why some workplaces become focused on status and politics. Although we won't go deep into that, but I think people often think politics happen because people are simply selfish. But I think there might be another reason. Because when value becomes difficult to measure, status becomes easier to compete for. And if nobody can see that who is creating impact, then people start competing for visibility, titles, influence, and recognition. Status becomes a replacement for actual impactful work. It can happen in universities or governments and almost any large corporation or organization. The problem is not always that the work has no value. The problem is that the people or the person who is doing it feels that it does not really have that much value. And when that work stops giving people meaning, they often start finding meaning somewhere else, like through friendships, through colleagues, through the feeling that they have a sense of belonging or that they belong somewhere. Because we humans are social creatures, relationships are one of the most important source of meaning in our lives. But I think that also creates a problem. If the main reason you enjoy your job is the people around you, then that meaning can become fragile because teams change, people leave, people come and go, and culture changes. And when that happens, suddenly the same work that once felt comfortable can start to feel empty. Not because the work changed, but because the thing that made it meaningful disappeared. And maybe this is why some people choose difficult paths. Not because they hate comfort, but because they want to become someone different. When people talk about leaving their jobs, they usually don't say, I want a harder schedule, but they say, I want to build something. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to challenge myself. Or that I want to see that what I am capable of. And in all of these cases, notice something. They are not describing their work or a job. They are describing a person. That person is who they want to be. A startup founder is not only building a company, they're also building someone who can build that or becoming someone who can build that. A writer is becoming someone who creates. A researcher or a doctor is becoming someone who can solve actual difficult problems. An athlete is becoming someone who can test the limits of a human body. The work is very external, but the identity changes happens internally. And I think this is the deeper reason some comfortable jobs start feeling empty because they give you stability, but sometimes they stop challenging you. They stop changing you. You become good at the system. You know what is expected out of you. You know what your tomorrow will be, what your day after tomorrow will be, what you have to do today. But after some time, you start asking, am I becoming a better version of myself? Because humans don't only want security. And I know that's a completely different topic, but from what I understand, from a very early age, we are told to be achievers. We want growth, we want progress, we want to feel that we are constantly rising. A difficult path can provide that feeling. When you are overcoming a hard challenge, that becomes proof that you are improving. And every failure teaches you something. Every responsibility forces you to grow. The satisfaction is not only that you achieved something, the satisfaction is that you became someone who could achieve it. Maybe that is why people leave comfortable jobs. Not because they hate comfort, not because they want unnecessary struggle or stress in their life, but they are afraid of staying the same person forever. Maybe people are not searching for a harder life, they are searching for life that feels real. And also, I think there is something very important to clarify. uh, Comfort here is not the enemy. Everybody wants stability, and it is important to have stability in your life. Otherwise, how will you stay sane? Everybody wants a job that pays their bills, gives them time to spend with their family and allow them to enjoy life. There is nothing wrong with that. The problem starts when that comfort turns into stagnation. When your life becomes predictable, but you stop feeling like you are moving forward, it feels you are staying in that same position, in that same attitude. Because there is a difference between being comfortable and being fulfilled. A comfortable life can still be meaningful. And I'm not saying a comfortable life is not meaningful. A comfortable life can still be meaningful. A simple job can still make someone happy. The question is not, is my job difficult enough? The question is, does this life allow me to become the person I want to become? Because sometimes the hardest thing about an easy job is not the work itself. It is that fact or that feeling that years are passing, but you are not changing. You're solving the same problem again and again in just a different package. Or you are earning more, you are becoming more experienced. But experienced at what? Because inside you feel exactly the same, and that feeling can be difficult to ignore after a certain time. Of course, in the early years you will not feel that, but I think maybe that is why people take risk. When someone leaves a stable job or a stable career to start something new, they choose uncertainty. And I don't think they are always chasing success. Sometimes they are chasing evidence that they are still growing. Because at the end of the day, humans don't only ask that how comfortable is my life. We can also ask that who am I becoming? And maybe for some people, that question is powerful enough to make them walk away from comfort and choose difficulty. Not because difficulty is better or it makes you a better person, but because sometimes difficulty reminds us that we are alive. Maybe the question was never why do people leave comfortable jobs? Maybe the deeper question is what do we need from our work? A salary? Yes. Security, of course. But maybe we also need something else as well. We need to feel that we are useful. We need to feel that our effort matters. We need to feel that we are learning, changing, and becoming someone, or becoming someone like an ideal version of ourselves. Because work takes a huge part of our life. I mean, if you're working 8 hours, 9 hours a day, you are traveling, let's say 1 hour or 2 hours every day. That is roughly 12 to 14 hours, and the rest of the time you need to sleep, you need to do some chores. So that is a huge part. And when that work we do feels disconnected from who we are becoming, in that case, even comfort can start feeling uncomfortable. That is why two people can have completely different views or experiences on the same job. One person can feel stability, the other person can feel stagnation. One person can see a good salary, the other person can see years passing by without any growth. Neither person is necessarily wrong, because the meaning of work is not only what we do, it is also about what that work does to us. Does it make us feel more capable, more curious, or more alive? Maybe people don't leave comfortable jobs because they hate comfort. Maybe they leave because somewhere inside they are simply asking a very simple question: is this the person I want to become? Or do I want to stay doing this for the next 40 years? And sometimes that question is stronger than the desire to stay comfortable.